Alright, and welcome back to the forecast card. Man, all these tournaments suck. Especially these random ass. This is like what the college basketball invitational. Uh, Incarnate word, a little bit too sweat free. I knew after that game that the other two were gonna be terrible. Florida Gulf Coast, I think they had like four separate 10-point leads this game, and every single time they got into double digits, they gave up like an 8-0 run. Every time, I thought they were gonna run away with it. They just coasted until it got close, and then they picked it up again. Uh, no idea how Army is just randomly putting on these strong performances this late on. Maybe they're just motivated. You know, Army, they have nothing else to do. I don't fucking know. Uh, Really frustrating one. And Queens, man, Cleveland State just like, I don't know if they just were practicing for the last 2 weeks, but they looked insanely good. Like I think they were shooting 85% in the first half. At least the first like 15 minutes, they were like 14 for 17. They just could not miss anything. Queens defense, I don't know if that was the problem or if Cleveland State just was showed up for this game. But man, oh man, I think they ended up finishing the game shooting 61% from the field. Queens shot like 40 something percent. Not even that bad. They got to line a ton like I was expecting, but Cleveland State just looked really, really, really good. And because of that, I think I'm going to back them because Florida Gulf Coast looked like shit, and Cleveland State looked like they were actually really motivated for this tournament. So, yeah, I think they're I feel like I have to back Cleveland State next game, and it's probably going to bite me in the ass somehow. But I have them modeled to win the game by 3. Line's 3.5. We'll get to that game eventually, but 1-2 on the day brings our NIT record to 6-13. Yeah, not great. Big Dance has been whatever mid. A bit of a donation, but the thing that I guess I want to explain, at least for me, when you're modeling college basketball, it's definitely a game of volume, and it hasn't been great for the tournament because I'm really limited on how many games I can pick. Um, I'm trying to do volume by picking every game, but it's not necessarily the same. Like I did really good in the regular season because I got to pick from like 45 games on basically any given night, and from those 45 games, I could find value in 5 of them. But for the big tournament, like you're only given typically like 8 to 16 games, and then here we're only given like 3 games any night, so it's definitely hard to find an edge. Uh, Trying to find an angle. I feel like a lot of times it's basically a coin flip on what team's going to show up. Motivation's impossible to guess. No home team advantage. Some teams are not playing starters. Apparently, I got screwed a couple nights ago by Elon resting one of their starters. I didn't like just last minute. I had no way to know about it. Just what it is, what it is. But yeah, I feel like tournament is not good for the way that I typically bet college basketball. But I kind of like these 4 games today a lot more than the last 3. There are like some edges you can find. So yeah, let's get into the 4 sides that I like for the 4 games tomorrow in the CBI and the NIT. All right, hang on to game number 1. We have Chattanooga versus Bradley. Now, on paper, obviously, Bradley coming out of Missouri Valley, a much tougher conference in the South, but Bradley on paper is going to be really short-handed here. Darius Hannah got hurt in the last game. He won't be playing. Zach Montgomery has already opted out of this tournament completely. He's not going to be playing. And Duke Dean, who is arguably their best player, is going to be playing, but he kind of got hurt in the middle of the last game. He came back, but you could tell he wasn't playing at 100%. I'm not sure what version of him we're going to get in this game. But again, they're only going to have 2, with 2 guys missing, they're only going to have 2 guys that average over 10 points. Their bench really isn't that deep. On the other side, Chattanooga's fully healthy. They also have 4 scorers that score over 10 points. A bit deeper of a team. And they've been playing really well in these tournaments. It seems like they really are motivated to show up for these games. Obviously, on paper, Bradley's played a tougher conference. On paper, they're the much better shooting team. But I think Chattanooga has some defensive players that have the ability to maybe lock up Bradley to some degree, especially the way they have been playing defensively, definitely picking it up a lot more than they have in the regular season. Bradley, again, offensively, they're going to find a lot of success. Chattanooga is not a great defense. They're ranked 336th defending the mid-range, 314th in defending the three-point shot, something that Bradley does really well, top 10 in college basketball. Even in the paint, Chattanooga's pretty decent at. They're good at defending their own boards. They don't foul that much. And I think Chattanooga can hang around. If you look on the other side, the Noogs, an elite free throw shooting team. Hopefully they get to the line a little bit here, which is not necessarily unlikely considering the matchup. They're probably going to find a little bit of success from three, but again, Bradley's still an elite three-point defense. They'll probably have some success turning the ball over. Bradley does turn the ball over quite a lot. And even though Chattanooga doesn't take a lot of mid-range shots, they're one of the best mid-range teams in college basketball in terms of shooting percentage. I think they'll find some success. Again, Hannah and Montgomery. Hannah's their big man. He averages a ton of boards, like 6 boards a game. He's 6'9", 205. Without him playing, I think their defense really starts. I wouldn't say it crumbles, but losing that really big man in the paint is going to be a problem. He's also an elite field goal percentage shooter. Shooting 60% from in the paint. They're going to have to replace him with a 5-point average player who's he's 6'8", 230, but he's a sophomore from Iceland. Don't really think he's that good. He drops like 20% in field goal percentage. If that's going to be their big man replacement, it's going to be a bit tough. Again, losing Zach Montgomery, he doesn't get too many reboards, but he's a big point guy. He shoots free throws from 80%. He's a really good 3-point shooter. One of the second best or third best 3-point shooter on their team. He gets sponsored boards, assists, and he averages like a steal a game. I think it'd be tough. Again, you don't really see too many minutes or too much action from these other guys on their team. I don't really know how good they really are. They have some really tall guys, but again, they haven't really played too many rotational minutes. Nuga's been playing really good. They got all the momentum here. They're a lot more consistent, and they're a team that plays really good on the road. When you look at these two teams on paper, in terms of their power ratings, Bradley, when they play at home, they play actually about how they should play. They play a bit worse at home than they do on the road this year. And Chattanooga plays really good. Number one in the conference and playing on the road. They become basically a top 75 team on the road. They really seem to get motivated playing in the court of another team. And on paper here, I think these teams are really equal, especially with Bradley missing, 2 of their best players. I think this is an environment that Chattanooga likes to play in, and Bradley, I don't know. I think they're gonna have to kind of struggle. In their last 5, Nuga's been almost a top 50 team, and Bradley's kind of been going the opposite way. They were like a top 75 team to end the year, but in these tournament games, they've kind of regressed to almost outside of the top 100. I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch. Chattanooga, obviously less talented, but both these teams are going to be playing on 2 days rest. Chattanooga, in terms of covering, is 14-7 on 2 to 3 days off. Bradley, 12-12 on equals rest. Chattanooga has covered 66% of the time. I don't know. I kind of like the spot. As a away underdog, Chattanooga is 8-1 against the spread. As home favorites, Bradley is 7-8 against the spread. I think this is a good spot to back Chattanooga. I think they're a team that's a lot more motivated. Bradley had obviously an extremely tough loss. Losing to Drake, by quite a lot, and they had quite a decent chance to make it to the big dance. So they're a lot less motivated here. Obviously, Chattanooga lost to Furman, so they might be a bit kind of pissed off because they're the team that won their conference, so they were probably most favorite to make it. But I don't know. It's not like Furman even ended up making it. Wofford ended up making it, just getting bounced first round, which is pretty crazy. But again, I think the parity in that conference is a lot less big than it is in Missouri Valley, where Bradley and Drake kind of just dominate everybody. I don't know. I'm not sure if they're as disappointed, but they played really well against Dayton. They put up 109 points against Middle Tennessee. Bradley, they did okay, but it looks like George Mason kind of rolled over in that game. They still only scored 75 points in that win. They put 71 up against North Alabama. Chattanooga's been putting up really good points and held a pretty solid Dayton offense to only 72 points. I think they're playing some of their best basketball, and I think they can keep this game within one possession. So give me the Nugs here. Heading on to game number 2. This was a pretty tough one to handicap because on paper, North Texas is a higher ranked team, but Oklahoma State, coming out of the Big 12, has played way harder competition than North Texas has, and they have played pretty well against some really elite competition. Both these teams are basically fully healthy. Oklahoma State has one guy that's questionable, but I'm expecting him to play. You can kind of compare this game a lot to the St. Mary's Alabama game, which is a big reason why I'm actually going to lean Oklahoma State here. We have one team, extremely fast-paced against a team that plays basically just behind St. Mary's and being one of the slowest teams in college basketball. I think it's like Drake, St. Mary's, North Texas. Very slow team. Oklahoma State, top 10 in pace. Offensively, both these teams are going to have some success in what they like to do. And then they also both defend a lot of things that both these teams like to do. Oklahoma State, they like to shoot a lot in the paint. They're not very good at it, but they shoot almost 40% of their shots in the paint. That's the spot that North Texas historically struggles the most. They're not even a top 200 defense there. They shoot a decent amount of threes, some mid-range shots. North Texas obviously elite, top 15 defending both of those. But North Texas does turn the ball over a lot more than Oklahoma State in terms of, I guess, the ratio to steals to turnovers. I think Oklahoma State's going to lead the turnover battle here. They're the 20th best in college basketball in forcing steals. North Texas pretty good on their own boards. Oklahoma State, though, will probably get to line a lot more than North Texas. They're the top 10 team in getting to the line. They don't shoot the free throw nearly as well as North Texas does, but I think Oklahoma State here is going to get to line, especially with the home whistle, a lot more than North Texas will. On the other side, North Texas, they're actually a team that shoots a lot of mid-range. Most teams shoot maybe like 20% from the mid-range. North Texas shoots over 30%. And Oklahoma State's a top 25 defense against the mid-range shot. North Texas also will get to line a decent amount, and they are a better free throw shooting team, but I don't think they're going to get to line as much as Oklahoma State. I think it ends up balancing out. Again, North Texas, I'm hoping they don't shoot a lot of threes. They usually only shoot 15 to 20 threes a game, because Oklahoma State has struggled a bit defending the three, not even a top 200 3-point defense against North Texas top 87th in 3-point percentage. But they defend the paint decently well. They're okay on the boards. They turn the ball over a bit, but North Texas doesn't force nearly as many turnovers. I'm just going to lean with the team that's going to be playing at a much faster pace. That's played as really, really tough competition. Obviously, North Texas did really well in the American. Oklahoma State was not necessarily at the top by any means of the Big 12, but in terms of home rating, North Texas does play decently well on the road, but Oklahoma State plays really well at home. Top 50 home advantage. They played 20th or the 35th hardest strength of schedule compared to North Texas 145th. In terms of the last 5, Oklahoma State's been like a top 75 team. North Texas just fallen out of the top 100. I think this is a really good spot for Oklahoma State. I think these teams both have their own advantages on both sides of the ball, but Oklahoma State has not dropped a game at home in a long time. They beat their last 4, including wins over much tougher teams in North Texas, like Iowa State. You could argue even UCF's a better team. Cincinnati, you could argue, is a better team than North Texas. Wichita State. North Texas has won a bunch of games on the road, but they lost to their only step up, which is against McNeese. They beat Rice, UTSA, and Wichita State on the road, but those were all pretty close games. 6-point, 4-point win, 6-point win, 15-point win over UTSA, a team they probably should beat by 30. Yeah, give me North Texas or Oklahoma State here. I think it's gonna be a tight game, but Oklahoma State really showed up in their last game. I saw a lot of people on SMU, but Oklahoma State won that game outright as 9.5-point dogs. North Texas barely beat an Arkansas State team at home. I think this is definitely going to be a good spot here for Oklahoma State. I also think they're going to be a more well-rested team and playing at home. We're getting them basically on the money line, so yeah, give me Oklahoma State here in this game. I can see a world where North Texas wins it, but I think it's so even that I'm just going to have to lean with the home team. All right, now we get into the bullshit tournament, the CGI But I think both these teams kind of want to be here more than a lot of other teams. So this is going to be a fun game to watch. Incarnate Word has been playing out of their mind. But Illinois State, again, coming out of MVC, a much, much, much tougher conference here than the Southland. Southland's been a pretty good team, but they're like just barely a top 20 conference compared to MVC, which is a top 10 conference. They've had to play much tougher teams to have the stats they do. They've been like basically a top 100 team this year. Incarnate Word's been like hovering around 200 or 300 range all year. They've been playing really good to end off the season. But I think this is going to be a spot where Illinois State, if they can shoot the ball well, should roll. They're a top 73 point percentage team against a bottom 300 3-point defense. They're a top 20 mid-range offensive team against a 350th ranked defense. Top 30 near basket against an 120th near basket defense. And they shoot the free throw significantly better, 7% better than Incarnate Word does. And again, that's kind of all Illinois State does. They just shoot the ball. They don't really try to force turnovers. They just kind of have slow possessions looking for really high quality shots. And that's why they're one of the best teams in field goal percentage in the conference. On the other side, Incarnate Word, they're going to find some success offensively. Illinois State's not a good defensive team by any stretch, but I think the fact that they don't shoot the three ball should give the edge here to Illinois State to be able to build off a lead here. Incarnate Word, they shoot really well from the mid-range, top 50% from their mid-range, which is pretty impressive for a Southland team. They shoot the mid-range more than almost any team, 34% of the time, so they should find some success there against an Illinois State that doesn't defend the mid-range well. But again, I think Illinois State will shoot the mid-range better than Incarnate Word will anyway. They'll find some success in the paint. Illinois State does not defend the paint well, but it's not really known to be Incarnate Word's strength. They only take 30% of their shots from the paint. In terms of steals, free throws, I don't think Incarnate Word's going to really get too many of those. They're one of the best teams on the offensive glass, but Illinois State, with a much harder schedule, is still a top 100 team on the defensive glass. So I think Incarnate Word, if their shots aren't falling, aren't going to have that much success on the offensive boards like they may be used to. Again, I've been getting screwed in this tournament because teams that should shoot three balls are not making them. Like, I took Queens today because I thought they had a really significant advantage shooting threes, and they only made like 2 threes in the first half. I'm just hoping Illinois State shows up for this game, because if they can hit their threes, even like 30, even if it's like 35% from three, I think they should be able to outscore this Illinois State team. It's going to be a relatively slow-paced game. I think Illinois State just has a slightly more talent. Plus, Incarnate Word, this is going to be their third game in 3 days. I think they're going to be a little bit tired here. On paper, especially before this tournament, they shouldn't even be considered on the same level. But I said that against Incarnate Word's last opponent that they beat. So who knows? Maybe they're just coming into this tournament with completely new motivation. But Incarnate Word, they played 23rd, 24th. This is going to be the third game. Illinois State's only played 1 game, which means they're not even going to have to travel. They're just going to stay in Daytona. Yeah, give me Illinois State here to blow out Incarnate Word, winning by double digits. All right, in the final game, this is just going to be more an eye test play. The line is really short. Cleveland State looked like they were motivated. They played at a high level. They didn't, let Queens get back into the second half. They continued to play at a high level. Florida Gulf Coast, complete opposite. They would play at a high level and then collapse, play at a high level, collapse. No consistency in their play. Didn't seem like they really cared to even win that game. They almost lost the game. There was a chance at the end of the game for the other team to take the lead, but obviously they didn't. They got a free throw and then they won by 3, but it was not a convincing win for them, and they should have completely crushed a team like Army in every capacity of how you look at that game. Again, we're getting Cleveland State, a team that, on paper, I only have this model as a 3-point win for Cleveland State. I think the line is where it should be, but if just looking at quality of schedule, Cleveland State just looked like the better team. I think both teams should find success in what they like to do. Cleveland State's got all the momentum. Florida Gulf Coast, on paper, is a more consistent team, but if their threes aren't falling, I don't think they're going to have any success here in playing against a Cleveland State team that's going to force a lot of turnovers and probably find some success. Just the way if they shoot like they did yesterday, they're going to find a lot of success. Florida Gulf Coast is not a very good defensive team. They're slightly better offense than Cleveland State, but I think the edge has to come to Cleveland State. And statistically, Horizon harder than the ASUN. They played tougher competition throughout the year, and they have a better record. They're fully healthy. Yeah, I think they have the ability here to they're gonna kind of boat race them in the first half, especially since they're gonna be on a neutral court. Cleveland State, top 50 team on the road. Florida Gulf Coast typically starts games really slow, and Cleveland State plays basically just as well in the first and second half. They don't really change their pace. So if Florida Gulf Coast is going to come back, statistically they should come back in the second. So I like Cleveland State to be leading by at least 2 points here at half. There's no first half line. This is kind of what I'm guessing the line is going to be at, considering the full game is 3.5. But I still like this at -2.5, which is possibly, especially if the line moves, what that 1/2 line's open at. So yeah, thanks. That's Cleveland State first half -2. All right, just to wrap it up, we got Chattanooga +3.5. Bradley super beat up. I think Chattanooga's been playing much better ball than Bradley has, and Bradley due for I think they're number one in terms of teams due for regression. I think they're overrated. Oklahoma State, just equal. Both teams have advantages. I think Oklahoma State's played the tougher teams, and we're getting them at home. I think they show up like they have been in this tournament. Illinois State, Incarnate Word. Again, I think Incarnate Word's gonna be tired. The third game in 3 days. Illinois State, tougher conference, better record, better team. I think they should be able to boat race them if they can hit their threes. Cleveland State 1/2 -2. Big fan of what I saw last game. Watching the game, Florida Gulf Coast looked like shit. Cleveland State looked amazing. That's basically it. I think both these teams are relatively equal, but Cleveland State harder schedule, better record, no injuries. I don't know if Florida Gulf Coast can't hit the threes. This should be Cleveland State just was able to hold a much better 3-point shooting team like Queens to a really bad 3-point percentage. If they can do that again against Florida Gulf State, I'm expecting them to win this game by 20, just like they did against Queens. So yeah, those are the 4 games I like. Again, I think these tournament games are complete toss-ups, but I actually quite like these 4 games compared to the last few days. So I'm optimistic to go 3-1, 4-0 today. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.